This video is sponsored by DistroKid. There are a lot of EQ plugins out there, but this video contains the best. Well, at least the ones that I think are the best, and you know that my subjective opinion is objectively correct. But I'm going to specifically overview what I think are the 10 best EQ plugins across the following categories that you see on screen, including best all-around workhorse EQ, best intelligent EQ, best mastering EQ, and more. I'm going to overview my selections based on completing hundreds of mixes over a decade, and my own experience working with each plugin. But my goal isn't just to show you what I like, more importantly is to demonstrate why I like them. And for clarity, none of the plugins or brands that I'm going to mention have sponsored this video in any shape, form, or fashion. These are all plugins that I genuinely use and find helpful when mixing. But because I know that it's the internet, I know that not everyone is going to agree with my choices here. So please don't interpret this list as the law despite the name of the video, and instead help me and your fellow mixers out there by sharing your favorite EQ plugins for each category down in the comments below. And as a heads up, I'll also be leaving links to all of the plugins that I mentioned in the description as well if you want to check out any of these for yourself. So without further ado, let's talk about the first category being best free EQ. And my pick for that is going to be the Tokyo Dawn Labs TDR Nova. Honestly, this plugin is very powerful and you can't argue with the price. Don't you do it, you cheap mother. It offers features that rival many premium plugins that cost money, and honestly does a better job than a lot of stock EQs that come with your DAW as well. This includes all the standard stuff you'd expect from an EQ with regard to manipulating frequency bands, but it also has a solo frequency function which is very helpful for identifying frequency problems in particular. The low and high cut filters offer slopes ranging from 6 dB per octave upwards to 72 dB per octave, offering more precision and options in comparison to many stock EQs and even some of the other EQs that I'm going to mention later on in this list. Another feature that I love about TDR Nova, and one that a lot of other EQs don't offer, is the ability to create not only static bands but also dynamic bands that are connected to a threshold with adjustable attack and release settings to boot. And to up the ante, Nova also has a sidechain input, allowing you to use other sounds or inputs to trigger those dynamic bands. Great for managing common problems like frequency masking or achieving other unique creative effects. And one final thing that I like about this plugin worth mentioning is that it has automatic gain compensation in the form of the EQ gain button. Great for ensuring loudness is matched and that your EQ decisions are actually improving the material rather than deceiving you. There's certainly more that I could talk about, but these are just a few reasons why I like TDR Nova in particular, and why I think it deserves recognition as the best free EQ plugin out there. And while choosing the right EQ for your mix is important, it's equally, if not more important, to choose the right distributor to get your music onto streaming platforms. And that's where the sponsor of today's video, DistroKid, comes into play. They give you access to what you need to distribute your music onto streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, and they pass on 100% of the earnings generated from your music directly to you. Not on a desktop? Don't worry. You can even distribute your music directly from your phone with the DistroKid app available on iPhone and Android. Their interface is clean and simple, making uploading a breeze and giving you tons of options such as the ability to Shazam your music for improved discoverability. But DistroKid offers so much more than just getting your music out there easily. It has tons of creative tools built right in to help you create exciting marketing materials to support your release. This includes the meme video generator to create funny and relevant short form content, and the Spotify Canvas generator so your music has some sleek visuals running in the background on the app, among others. Best of all, unlike many other distributors that charge you per release or keep a percentage of your music earnings, DistroKid charges a low annual subscription fee for you to distribute unlimited music for the year, making them much more convenient and less expensive than the other guys. There's a reason why over 2 million artists rely on DistroKid to distribute their music, including yours truly. If you're interested in signing up, you can save 7% off your first year by using my link down in the description below. But next, let's explore my pick for the best all-around workhorse EQ. In other words, if I could only have one EQ on this list, it would have to be this one. And I don't think my pick for this category is going to surprise anybody, but my choice is going to be the FabFilter Pro Q4. This EQ can do virtually anything. Honestly, it could have been the winner for every category on this list. Well, minus the free one, because this baby ain't exactly cheap. But the question is, what can the FabFilter Pro Q4 not do? It's arguably got the best interface in the game. Simply click to create a band and get to work. You could choose between 10 different band types ranging from a bell to an all pass. You could then choose where that band affects frequencies in the stereo field, from stereo to mid, side, left, or right. Push frequencies as high or low as 30 dB, which is honestly perhaps the most I've seen on an EQ to date. You can make bands dynamic or use its new spectral dynamics feature, which makes resonance suppression plugins like Soothe 2 virtually obsolete. You can use the sidechain input to easily deal with frequency masking and make space between clashing sounds, as I've shown you in some of my past videos on the topic. I'll leave a link to that below. And speaking of frequency masking, masking, it makes detecting masking between sounds easier than ever. Highlighting overlap in red within the instances window of the plugin, or even directly within the graphical interface with some simple routing. If loudness is a concern, you can enable auto gain so that it doesn't affect your decision making, and it even has different character modes, allowing you to maintain a clean and transparent sound, or add some flavor with its subtle and warm modes. And did I mention, for all the phase-focused nerds that are sometimes complaining in my comments, that you can switch between a zero latency mode to a natural phase or even a linear phase mode? Honestly, this plugin covers just about everything you need, and this is just the basic stuff. There's tons of things that I still didn't even cover. Me personally, I use the FabFilter 4 on individual tracks, groups, and masters. Basically, I put that on everything, like Frank's Red Hot Sauce for mixing. You already probably know about the Pro Q4, but if you're that one dude in Greenland that didn't, take this as your sign to go check it out once and for all. Now, what about my pick for best surgical EQ? Full transparency, I love the FabFilter Pro Q4 for this job, but there is another EQ out there that gets slept on and I think actually deserves the title instead. And that's going to be Izotope's Neutron 5 equalizer. Just like with the Pro Q, you can click to create a band anywhere you like while previewing the frequency spectrum. From there, you can decide what type of band you want, from a shelf to a bell to a filter to something more unique like a proportional Q or a Baxendal curve. Within the band, it not only displays the frequency, Q, and overall gain adjustment, but also the corresponding musical note of that frequency that you have selected. Really, this just lets you be more mindful of your EQ moves and how they fit into the key of your song. And what's also really handy is that it has a solo button, allowing you to indefinitely isolate and preview a frequency without needing to consistently hold on to it like the solo button on other EQs. While simple, this is a very helpful feature, especially when trying to locate problematic frequencies. And speaking of problematic frequencies, there's a learn button, which intelligently moves an EQ node onto important or overly resonant areas within the signal, like sibilance, mud, or rumble. Basically, it has smart features built right in, allowing you to zero in on a problem without needing to manually locate it yourself. You can even expand the band's options to take it from a static adjustment into a dynamic move, and even link it to an internal or external sidechain to trigger EQ changes. And similar to the Pro Q4, it has excellent masking identification features, allowing you to compare the track you're affecting to others while highlighting frequency overlap between them. What's particularly cool about this plugin for frequency masking is that you can enable the invert link setting, which allows you to effectively adjust the EQ on two sounds at once in opposite directions. If you want to hear what you're losing through your tonal adjustments, you could do that by engaging the delta setting, and this EQ is the only one I've seen have the following feature. Not only can you select between a stereo and mid-side mode, but there's also a transient sustain mode. That means you can EQ the transient and sustain of the material uniquely. How cool is that, bud? Oh, sorry, my Canadian is showing, but there's honestly so much more to this plugin than I can fit into this brief segment. And this is probably the only other plugin on the list that can give the Pro Q4 a run for its money. While it has a few features that the Pro Q4 doesn't have, the one thing that it's lacking is some spectral dynamics integration. But once they bring that in, I think this will take the Pro Q4's place as the best all-around workhorse EQ. So maybe we have something to look forward to with Neutron 6.
Your move.
Izotope. Let's talk about the best dynamic EQ next. And honestly, all the previous plugins that I mentioned can handle dynamic EQ quite effectively. But to avoid repeating the same plugin every time, let's acknowledge another plugin that actually handles this job very well. And that would be the Waves F6 Real-Time Analysis, or RTA plugin. Now, the reason why I chose this plugin is simple. No, seriously, it's simple. The plugin is simple. That's the reason why I've chosen it. Every one of its 6 bands comes with a threshold, attack, and release control, as well as a range, providing maximum control over sculpting your sounds dynamically. It also has external sidechain functionality, enabling you to dynamically increase or decrease frequency content either within the material itself or as a result of being triggered by another sound. You can also determine the placement of each band or its 2 filters, from stereo to being focused on just the mid or the side channels, and the price point is fantastic. Ignore the retail price on Wave's website because they're almost always running sales, and that means you can usually score this for well under $50 most of the time if you time it right. But now let's swing over to the best intelligent EQ. Before I reveal my pick, let's make sure you understand what I'm referring to here. By intelligent EQ, I'm talking about an EQ plugin with some form of AI or algorithmic assistance that can handle most of the work for you, analyzing your audio and creating EQ moves that sound good while ideally still giving you control over the final outcome. Wait, that's not what I mean. My pick for that is going to be Sonable's Smart EQ 4. I recently featured it in a video about the Sonable Smart Plugin Bundle, all of which are excellent tools, so I'll leave a link to that below for you to check out later. But the main selling point about this plugin is that you can get it to analyze your audio material with its AI assistant, and it'll create a complementary EQ curve, reducing problematic resonances and simultaneously boosting what needs to be enhanced to create more presence within your sound automatically. But the best part is you're not just locked into whatever the AI algorithm gives you. You can further sculpt the EQ curve yourself manually, creating nodes, increasing or decreasing the overall impact of the curve, smoothing it out, focusing and preserving some of the moves it makes and not others, and even turning all of the static EQ adjustments into dynamic ones for more transparency. I'm really just scratching the surface on what it's capable of, but it works surprisingly well, and that's why it's my pick for best intelligent EQ overall. But now let's circle over to my pick for the best mid-side EQ, which is going to be Brainworx BX Digital V3. Now truthfully, this EQ for me gets a lot of action on groups and masters in particular, but of course it could technically work on individual stereo tracks as well. Inside you have access to two different sets of EQ controls, the mid or mono channel on the left and the side or stereo channel on the right. Both sections come with 5 bands as well as a high and low cut filter, allowing you to uniquely sculpt the mids and sides as you see fit. Each of these also has their own unique graph where you can see the moves being made in the bottom of each respective side. It offers all of the standard EQ controls you'd expect, as well as a handy auto listen function that allows you to make pinpoint accurate decisions in isolation. In the middle section, you have access to some other handy features, including a gain in and out, as well as a stereo width control, which is why I like to use this on groups and masters in particular, because I can gently nudge the width and enhance it to make it a bit more stereo. There's also a built-in mono maker to help focus lower end frequencies into the middle to improve their overall mono compatibility. Adding to the functionality of this plugin, there's a single dynamic band for each the mid and the side channels, which will effectively allow you to dynamically affect a specific part of the frequency range. Perfect for de-essing style processing harsh frequencies or excessive lower resonances when they come up. Overall, this is an excellent minimum phase MSEQ option with a transparent, clean sound and versatile controls that work just about in any situation in my experience. But now let's discuss the opposite of transparent and go over my pick for the best analog EQ. This is a really tricky category I don't think anyone is going to be satisfied with because there's so many options and emulations of classic gear from Neves to APIs, SSLs, mags, and more, all of which I use as well, by the way. However, one analog style that I always gravitate towards personally is a Pultec style of EQ. And as you probably know, there are a lot of Pultec emulations out there, but one of my favorites is the PuigTech EQ-P1A from Waves, and it's for one reason in particular. This plugin is exactly like any other Pultec emulation out there, giving you access to a low and high band with a boost and attenuation control for both, and the ability to switch between a few notched frequencies and adjust the overall width or Q. But the simple feature that puts this plugin above the others is its built-in output. And unfortunately, most Pultec style plugins do not have a built-in gain control like this one. But in fairness, neither did the analog hardware that these plugins are emulating. But with the PuigTech's built-in output, I can easily make adjustments to the overall level of my sound after adjusting it with EQ. This can enable us to match loudness better by reducing the overall output of a sound so it's more comparable to how it was before, allowing us to confirm that our EQ moves are actually helping us shape the tone but without any loudness bias. I know that this is a really basic and simple feature, but it's one that makes this plugin stand out above the rest. Now, if you like to be efficient when mixing, then using a channel strip can really simplify the process, as I've shown you in my past videos on the topic. And the plugin that I used in that video in particular is also my pick for best channel strip EQ, being the Waves SSL EV2 channel strip. This plugin gives you access to 4 bands, a low mid, a high mid, and a high band. The 2 middle bands are bell curves, while the low and high bands are shelves. But what's cool is you can turn them into bells, which creates a lot more flexibility with potential EQ moves you can make. And like the Pultec that I just mentioned, there's quite a few SSL style channel strips from a variety of brands, including Brainworx, Universal Audio, and even SSL themselves. But like the Waves PuigTech, this plugin stands out for a couple of specific reasons. The first and main reason why it's my top pick over the others is because it has a built-in solo band function. With it enabled, the moment that I click to adjust a particular band, it isolates it and allows me to hear exactly what I'm affecting. This is particularly useful for identifying frequencies you want to adjust, as opposed to either having to make a drastic cut or boost to identify what you're affecting, which leaves a lot more room for error in my opinion. But I don't judge, I've done that too. I'm pretty sure there's videos on my channel to prove that. So do as I say, not as I do.
I'm an idiot!
Another reason why I like this SSL EV2 EQ in particular is that it gives you options to use either a black or brown EQ curve, which are inspired by the original consoles they came from. Basically, these two different EQ types alter the overall EQ's behavior, giving you more sonic options and further enhancing its versatility. It's almost like 2 channel strips in one from that perspective. Combine that with the built-in filter section, and this channel strip really covers all of your bases as far as EQ goes. But now let's get into some fun stuff, being creative EQ. And I think that my pick for this is one that a lot of people aren't going going to be aware of, and that's going to be the black box analog design HGQ. This is a colorful EQ option that emulates a real-world hardware unit of the same name, featuring 6 frequency bands in total, 2 being low-end focused, 2 mid-range focused, and 2 high-end focused. I think this EQ works best on stereo tracks, groups, and masters, but keep in mind that it isn't a very transparent option. In fact, the lack of transparency is why you should use it. Now, what's really appealing about this plugin is 2 key things. 1, you could simultaneously boost and cut its 6 frequency bands, either in series or parallel, allowing for some unique tonal manipulation options. And 2, each band has a built-in saturator, allowing you to add some unique harmonics to each band you're manipulating, which provides even more opportunities to craft interesting sonic character. This EQ also gives you a good amount of other options in the middle section, including the ability to switch from stereo to mid-side mode, apply a high-pass filter, and attenuate the overall level, among other features. And while you may be inclined to think that there are no visual graph indicators, you can actually expand the interface to see the graph with the spectrum analyzer and how your EQ moves affect the tonal balance. Overall, this is a really interesting EQ option that does things differently from the rest. So if you want an EQ that'll inspire you or cause you to approach things from a different angle, I think this is the one to try out. Next, let's talk about mastering EQs. I've already mentioned that I like to use a few of the options I've presented to you on my master, but let me throw another name into the ring, and that would be the EQs that come with Izotope Ozone 11, being the standard EQ and the dynamic EQ, and I promise I'm not cheating because both of these come with Izotope Ozone 11.
You're a big fat phony!
I could use the standard EQ to make focused cuts or boosts with a variety of EQ curve options ranging from bells to shelves to high and low pass filters. Pretty much every type of EQ curve you need for mastering is here at your disposal. The standalone plugin also has a built-in gain match, which you know I'm always a fan of, as mentioned earlier. And if static moves are too much, I could use the dynamic EQ instead to make more reactive tonal adjustments in real time based on how loud a frequency gets at a given moment. And similar to Neutron 5, I have the ability to alter frequencies in either the standard stereo mode, or get more focused and make unique adjustments in mid-side mode, left-right mode, or the transient sustain mode, providing maximum amount of tonal manipulation options, which is great for mastering specifically. And if you use this plugin inside of Ozone 11 specifically, which is often how I use it, you get access to a number of other benefits. That includes the ability to reference your master in mono, swap the left and right sides, compare it to a reference track, preview your master in a particular codec, add dither, tap into its I/O and metering options to view your peak, RMS, and LUFS levels, and even chain it with the other modules included in Ozone 11. This is honestly a no-brainer, and Ozone 11 is a must-have plugin in my opinion. It's been a go-to of mine for years, and I'm sure you'll feel the same way once you try it out for yourself if you haven't already. Now honestly, if you have all of these EQs that I just discussed, there is zero reason to have anything else. That being said, I don't want you to get the impression that you need to have all of these EQs to mix well. My advice is to learn the tools at your disposal first, and when you finally reach the limit and you need to upgrade, you can use this video as a resource for EQs worth checking out. But what do you think of this list? Did any of my picks surprise you? Do you agree with my selections, or do you think that there's another plugin out there that should have got the recognition instead? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see another tutorial style video that I did about EQing vocals in particular, I'm going to leave that on screen for you to watch next. Before we wrap up, please give this video a like if you found it helpful, and of course consider subscribing if you're new here to see more mixing tips like this in the future. I appreciate y'all for watching. I'll see you again soon. Peace.
5